Welcome to my channel. Listen to my stories every day. Comment, like and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy listening. The dull throb of her headache was the only sound punctuating the silence between us. Maria leaned back on the couch, her eyes closed, one hand gently massaging her temple. "Can you please get me the headache pills from my bag?" she asked, her voice strained. I nodded, feeling a mix of concern and frustration. We had been married for 8 years, and though I had always loved her deeply, the last few months had been fraught with suspicion and unease. Her late-night phone calls, the secretive texts, the hushed conversations when she thought I wasn't around it all pointed to one conclusion: Maria was unfaithful. I walked over to her handbag, sitting neatly on the dining table. It was a familiar object, yet it felt like a Pandora's box today. I rummaged through it, my fingers brushing against her wallet, a pack of gum, some receipts, and finally, a small bottle of pills. Just as I was about to pull out the bottle, my fingers grazed something metallic. I paused, my curiosity piqued. What I found was a set of keys, not belonging to our house or car. I lifted them out, their unfamiliarity sending a jolt through me. Attached to the key ring was a small tag that read "The Loft." My mind raced. What was this place? Why had she never mentioned it? A flood of questions crashed over me, none with satisfying answers. Maria had always been open about everything, at least. That's what I had thought. "Did you find them?" Her voice cut through my thoughts, and I quickly pocketed the keys before turning back to her with the pill bottle in hand. "Here," I said, handing her the bottle and watching as she took a couple of pills and swallowed them dry. I studied her face, looking for any sign of deceit, but she only looked pained and tired. "Thanks," she murmured, closing her eyes again. I sat beside her, my heart pounding. I needed to know the truth, but I also knew that confronting her now would only lead to more lies. Instead, I decided to play along, to act as if nothing had changed. That night, as Maria slept beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My mind was a whirlpool of thoughts and emotions. I had to find out what was going on, but I needed to be careful. The next morning I left for work, my mind already plotting my next move. I would find this loft and uncover whatever secrets Maria was hiding there. When I returned home that evening, Maria was in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared dinner. She smiled at me, but I could see the strain behind her eyes. She was hiding something, and it was tearing her apart. "How was your day?" she asked, her tone casual. "Busy," I replied, forcing a smile. "Yours?" "Just the usual," she said, turning back to the stove. As we sat down to dinner, I watched her closely, looking for any sign that she knew I had found the keys. But if she suspected anything, she didn't show it. After dinner, I excused myself and went to the study, pretending to work but really planning my next steps. I had to find out where this loft was and what Maria was doing there. The following day, I called in sick to work. Once Maria left for her job, I retrieved the keys and set out to find the loft. It took me a few hours of searching, but eventually I found the building, a modern high-rise in a part of town we rarely visited. I stood outside, my heart racing. I took a deep breath and entered, feeling a mixture of excitement and dread. I found the loft on the 5th floor. My hand trembled as I inserted the key and turned the lock. The door swung open to reveal a chic, minimalist apartment. It was tastefully decorated, but what caught my attention was the absence of personal items. No photos, no knickknacks, nothing that suggested someone lived here regularly. I walked through the rooms, feeling like an intruder in my own life. In the bedroom, I found a drawer filled with lingerie and costumes, things Maria had never worn for me. My heart sank further. I had hoped against hope that I was wrong, but the evidence was undeniable. I left the loft, my mind reeling. Maria was leading a double life, and I had no idea why. As I drove home, I resolved to find out. I needed to know who she was meeting here and why. That night, I acted normal, not giving away what I had discovered. Maria was none the wiser, and I felt a strange sense of power in knowing her secret. The next step was clear. I had to follow her and catch her in the act. Only then would I have the full picture, and only then could I decide what to do next. For now, I kept my discovery to myself, biding my time and waiting for the right moment to confront her. The truth was out there, and I was determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. The morning sun barely breaks through the heavy drapes as I rise from bed, the weight of yesterday's discovery pressing heavily on my shoulders. Maria stirs slightly, but doesn't wake. I leave her a note on the kitchen counter, gone to work early. See you tonight. Love, David. I head out, not to the office, but back to the loft. Today I need to know who she is meeting and what exactly she is doing there. I have to be stealthy. Maria might suspect something if I'm not careful. I park a few blocks away from the loft building, a little too anxious to sit still. From my vantage point across the street, I watch the entrance like a hawk. It doesn't take long before I see her. Maria arrives around 9:30, looking over her shoulder as she unlocks the door. My heart races. I give her a few minutes, then I follow. The elevator ride up to the 5th floor feels interminable. I step out quietly, peering around the corner. The hallway is empty, but I can hear muffled voices coming from the loft. I creep closer, pressing my ear to the door. Here early a male voice says, one I don't recognize. I needed to talk to you before we start, Maria replies, her tone hushed but urgent. I'm too far away to catch more. I inch the door open and slip inside. The voices grow clearer, and I move towards the living room, hiding behind a large potted plant. I'm getting worried, Jacob, Maria says. David is getting suspicious. He found the keys yesterday. Jacob, a tall man with dark hair, frowns. You need to be more careful, Maria. If he finds out, it could ruin everything. I know, but we can't stop now. We're too close, she insists. What are you doing here, Maria? I think to myself, straining to catch every word. They move into the bedroom. I follow, my heart pounding so loudly I fear they'll hear it. Through the crack in the door, I see Maria open the drawer with the costumes. She pulls out a doctor's outfit and starts changing. What the hell is going on? I mutter under my breath. Maria steps out in the costume, looking strangely confident. Jacob hands her a strange-looking tool. I can't believe my eyes. Is this some kind of role play? I've never seen this side of her before. I take a step back, accidentally bumping into a chair. The sound reverberates through the loft. Maria and Jacob freeze, their eyes darting to the door. Who's there? Jacob calls out, his voice tense. I can't hide anymore. I push the door open and step into the room. It's me, I say, my voice shaking with anger. What the hell is going on here? Maria's eyes widen in shock. David, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same question, I snap. What is all this? Who is he? I point at Jacob, my hands trembling. Jacob steps forward, trying to look calm. David, this isn't what it looks like. Oh, really? I scoff. Because it looks like my wife is playing dress-up with some stranger. Maria steps between us, her eyes pleading. David, please, let me explain. I'm all ears, I say, crossing my arms. She takes a deep breath. Jacob is a private investigator. We've been working together to gather evidence against a man who's been threatening us. I blink, taken aback. What? It's true, Jacob says. There's a lot you don't know, David. We've been trying to protect you. I shake my head, unable to process this. Protect me from what? Maria glances at Jacob, then back at me. There's a dangerous man. He's been blackmailing us, using information he has about you. We couldn't tell you because we didn't want to put you in more danger. Who is this man? I demand. His name is Victor, Jacob explains. He's a criminal with a lot of influence. We needed to gather enough evidence to take him down without him suspecting anything. And the costumes, I ask, still not fully convinced. We were trying to get him on tape, admitting to his crimes, Maria says. He has a thing for role play. It was the only way to get close to him without raising suspicion. My mind races, trying to fit all the pieces together. Why didn't you tell me? Maria's eyes fill with tears. I wanted to, but I was scared. Scared of what he might do if he found out you knew. Scared of losing you. I take a deep breath, feeling a mix of anger, relief, and confusion. I need time to process this, I say finally. Maria nods. I understand. Just know that I love you, David. I've been trying to protect us. I look at Jacob. And you. Can you prove any of this? He nods, pulling out a file from his bag. Here's everything we have on Victor. Take a look. It's all there. I take the file, my hands still shaking. I'll read this. But if I find out you're lying to me. We're not, Maria says softly. Please believe me. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. I turn and leave the loft, the file clutched tightly in my hand. As I drive home, I can't shake the feeling that there's still more to this story. But for now, I need to focus on the facts. I need to know the truth. Back home, I sit down with the file, my mind racing. If what Maria and Jacob say is true, then my entire world has just been turned upside down. And if it's not, well, then I'll have to decide what to do next. One thing is certain, my life will never be the same. The drive home feels like a blur, my mind struggling to digest the revelations from the loft. Maria and Jacob claim to be working against a dangerous man named Victor, but trust is a fragile thing now. I need proof, something concrete. Until then, I'll keep my distance and gather my own evidence. Back home, I spread the file's contents across the dining table. There are photographs, transcripts of conversations, and financial records, all pointing to Victor's criminal activities. It looks convincing, but I've been deceived before. I need to verify this myself. I decide to call in some favors. Mark, an old friend from college, works in cybersecurity. If anyone can dig up the truth, it's him. I dial his number, hoping he can help. David, it's been ages. What's up? Mark's voice is cheerful, a stark contrast to my own mood. Hey Mark, I need a favor. It's urgent, I reply, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. Anything for you, buddy. What's going on? I need you to look into a guy named Victor. I have some files that I need you to verify. Can you help? Send them over. I'll see what I can find. Give me a day or two. Thanks, Mark. I owe you. Don't mention it. I'll be in touch. I email the files to Mark and try to focus on my normal routine, but the hours crawl by. Maria senses my unease, but I keep our conversations brief. I can't let on that I'm investigating her story. The next evening, as I'm preparing dinner, my phone rings. It's Mark. David, I've got something. You were right to be suspicious. Victor is real, and he's bad news. He's involved in everything from extortion to money laundering. My heart pounds. And the files? Are they legitimate? Most of them check out, but there are a few inconsistencies. Someone's trying to cover their tracks. Can you dig deeper? I'll need more time, but I'll keep you updated. Thanks, Mark. You're a lifesaver. I hang up, my thoughts racing. The files are mostly accurate, but there are gaps. Maria's story holds water, but there's more to uncover. The following morning, I leave for work, keeping a close eye on Maria's movements. If she's meeting Jacob again, I need to be there. I skip the office and head straight to the loft, parking a distance away to avoid detection. Sure enough, around 10 a.m. Maria arrives, looking nervous. I wait a few minutes before following her inside. This time I'm prepared. I've brought a small recording device, determined to capture every word. I slip inside the loft, hiding in the same spot as before. Maria and Jacob are in the living room, speaking in hushed tones. David's getting too close, Maria says, worry etched on her face. We need to accelerate our plan. I agree, Jacob replies. We can't afford any mistakes. Victor's men are watching us closely. What if David finds out, she asks, her voice trembling. Jacob places a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He won't. We're almost there. Stay focused. My heart sinks. Despite her reassurances, I can't shake the feeling that there's more at play here. I need to confront her, but I can't do it without solid proof. I slip out of the loft unnoticed, determined to find Victor myself. If he's the key to unraveling this mess, I need to confront him. I head to the address listed in the file, a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town. The area is deserted, the air thick with tension. I park a few blocks away and approach on foot, my heart pounding. As I near the warehouse, I spot a couple of men standing guard. This must be the place. I wait until one of them steps away to make a call, then approach the remaining guard. "Hey, I'm looking for Victor. I have some business with him." The guard eyes me suspiciously. "Who are you?" "Just a concerned citizen with some information he might find valuable." He grunts, then motions for me to follow. We enter the warehouse, the air thick with the scent of oil and rust. The guard leads me to a back office, where a man sits behind a desk, his eyes cold and calculating. "Victor, I presume," I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. He looks up, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "And who might you be?" "David." "I believe you know my wife, Maria." His expression hardens. "Ah, Maria. She's been quite the thorn in my side." I step forward, my fists clenched. I want answers. "Why are you threatening my family?" Victor laughs, a cold, mirthless sound. "Your wife and her friend Jacob have been meddling in my business. They're trying to take me down, but they're in over their heads." "What do you want from us?" I demand. "I want them to back off," he says, his tone deadly serious. "If they don't, there will be consequences." I swallow hard, realizing the gravity of the situation. "I'll talk to them, but if you harm my family, I'll make sure you pay." Victor's eyes narrow. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But be careful, David. You're playing a dangerous game." I leave the warehouse, my mind racing. Victor is dangerous, but I can't let him scare me. I need to protect my family, even if it means confronting Maria and Jacob. When I return home, Maria is waiting for me, her face pale and drawn. "David, we need to talk." I nod, leading her to the living room. "I know about Victor. I met him today." Her eyes widen in shock. "You what?" "I had to see for myself. He's dangerous, Maria. We need to come up with a plan." She nods, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, David. I wanted to protect you, but I've made everything worse." "We'll figure this out together," I say, pulling her into my arms. "We have to stay strong." As we hold each other, I realize that despite everything, I still love her. We'll face this threat together, but I need to be vigilant. There are still secrets to uncover, and I won't rest until I know the full truth. In the days that follow, we work closely with Jacob, piecing together the evidence and formulating a plan to take Victor down. It's risky, but we have no choice. The safety of our family depends on it. As we prepare for the final confrontation, I can't shake the feeling that there's still more to uncover. Maria's secrets run deep, and I need to be ready for whatever comes next. But for now, we're united in our fight against a common enemy, and that gives me hope. The stage is set for the ultimate showdown with Victor, and I'm determined to come out on top. My family's future depends on it. The days of planning culminate in a tense atmosphere at the loft, where Maria, Jacob, and I prepare for the confrontation with Victor. The air is thick with anticipation and fear. We have a plan, but the risks are immense. One misstep could mean the end for all of us. "Are you sure about this?" David Maria asks, her voice quivering slightly as she checks the recording devices we've hidden around the room. I nod, trying to exude confidence. We don't have a choice. Victor needs to be stopped, and this is the only way. Jacob adjusts his tie, looking more serious than I've ever seen him. Remember, we need him to confess. We get him on tape, and we have enough to bring him down. No room for mistakes. We hear a knock on the door. Maria tenses, and I feel my own pulse quicken. Jacob nods to me, signaling it's time. I open the door to reveal Victor, flanked by two burly men. His eyes are cold, calculating as he steps inside. "Welcome, Victor," I say, forcing a polite smile. "I'm glad you could make it." Victor smirks, looking around the loft. "Let's cut the pleasantries, David. What do you want?" "I want this to end," I reply, standing tall. "You've threatened my family for long enough. We have evidence against you, and we're ready to go to the authorities." Victor chuckles, a dark, menacing sound. "Evidence? You think you can outsmart me?" Maria steps forward, her eyes fierce. "It's over, Victor. We have recordings, documents, everything. You can't escape this time." Victor's smirk fades, replaced by a look of genuine concern. "You're bluffing." "Try us," Jacob says, crossing his arms. "Confess now, and maybe we can work out a deal." Victor's eyes narrow. "A deal? You think I'm stupid enough to trust you?" Before I can respond, the loft door bursts open and a team of armed men floods in, weapons drawn. Everyone on the ground, one of them shouts. We drop to the floor, my mind racing. This wasn't part of the plan. Who are these men? Are they with Victor? One of the men steps forward, pulling off his mask to reveal Mark. "David, are you okay?" "Mark. What's going on?" I ask, bewildered. "Jacob isn't who you think he is," Mark says, his voice urgent. "He's been working with Victor all along. We intercepted communications between them." I look at Jacob, who's now glaring at Mark. "Is this true?" I demand. Jacob laughs, a cold, cruel sound. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for, David. Yes, it's true. Victor and I have been partners from the start." Maria gasps, stepping back. "But why? What do you get out of this?" "Power, control, money," Jacob replies, his eyes gleaming with malice. "Victor promised me a piece of the pie once we eliminated you and took over." Victor looks furious, realizing he's been double-crossed. "You idiot, Jacob. You've ruined everything." Mark's men quickly restrain Jacob and Victor, securing them with zip ties. I can't believe what I'm hearing. The betrayal cuts deep, but there's no time to process it now. "David, we need to get you and Maria out of here," Mark says, helping us to our feet. "It's not safe. There might be more of them." As we leave the loft, I glance back at Jacob and Victor, now defeated and bound. It's over, but at what cost? The truth is out, but the damage is done. Hours later, we're at a safe house, provided by Mark's team. Maria is silent, lost in thought. I sit beside her, taking her hand. "It's over, Maria. We're safe now." She looks at me, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, David. I thought I was protecting you, but I only made things worse." I squeeze her hand, offering what comfort I can. "We'll get through this. Together." Mark enters the room, a grim expression on his face. "We've got them. Victor and Jacob are in custody, and we're gathering more evidence. It's going to be a long process, but you're safe now." "Thank you, Mark," I say, genuinely grateful. "I don't know what we would have done without you." He nods. "Just doing my job. But there's something else you need to know." My heart skips a beat. "What is it?" "Victor wasn't just targeting you for personal gain," Mark says. "There's a larger network at play here, one that goes much deeper than we initially thought. We're still uncovering the full extent, but it's clear that Jacob and Victor were just the tip of the iceberg." Maria's grip tightens on my hand. "What does this mean for us?" "It means you need to stay vigilant," Mark replies. "We'll provide protection, but you need to be careful. There are still others out there who might come after you." I nod, feeling a mix of relief and dread. We'll do whatever it takes to stay safe. As Mark leaves us to process the news, I turn to Maria. "We've been through hell, but we're still standing. We'll face whatever comes next, together." She nods, leaning into me. "I love you, David. I'm sorry for everything." "I love you too, Maria. We'll get through this." In the days that follow, we begin to rebuild our lives, cautiously optimistic about the future. The threat isn't entirely gone, but we're stronger for having faced it together. And as we move forward, we remain united, determined to protect our family and each other, no matter what. The past may have been filled with betrayal and danger, but the future is ours to shape. And with every step we grow closer, knowing that our love and resilience will see us through.